Hello, and welcome to the fourth episode of Keeping Sanity. I'm Alina, and I'm gonna start this one with pointing out that I've been absent for about a month or so, and actually, this long break was the start of the topic of this episode when I was brainstorming ideas and. The reason for my absence was exam season, and I was preparing really hard, and I really had to cut out anything that is not related to my exams. It was definitely not the most enjoyable time of my life, but it was very satisfying after all my hard work paid off, and it was quite surprising, but this was essential to only focus on exams for quite a while. And I suppose the whole talk that I'm going to be giving in this episode is for all the people who are in the same situation as me right now and are both overwhelmed with the amount of stuff they want or need to do, but at the same time are struggling to do even one thing. And also, this episode is going to be sort of a reflection on the month of June and how it went for me. And I hope some of you will be able to relate to that. Not only the month of June, but any other period of time. And I mentioned that this month wasn't too enjoyable. And that is because I had a ton of plans. And by a ton of plans, I mean I was really willing to do something, but exams prevented me from doing it. And by a ton of plans, I mean so many notes with ideas of what I want to do that I had to dedicate around 30 minutes, a few days to sort them out and just put them into categories. And as you can imagine, that was quite overwhelming, especially because I realized I could not implement all of that due to end-of-year exams. And my initial plan was to take a week-long break after the exam week ends. And it is important to note that the week I decided to be dedicated to rest still had a few days of school, but I decided to dismiss that fact and just say that school equals rest, which was my mistake number one. And also, background story, the reason for this whole plan was just, I put all the ideas down in a semi-tangible form. And why I wanted to implement them is because I was really motivated to do all that stuff. And I didn't want to lose that state of flow that I received during exam season. I mean, working from 9 to 5, if you will. And I really wanted to maintain that feeling and to actually develop some of my own projects and not just read, watch, or listen to stuff, but to keep that momentum and keep going with all the projects I came up with. But along the way, and actually in the beginning of the way, something clearly went wrong. This was a not so short introduction to our today's topic, and now I'm gonna break down a few mistakes that I outlined that I did, and you might catch yourself doing the same thing, or if not, I mean, just interesting to listen, I guess. And the first one that I wrote down is that I planned way too much. There were around 100 small tasks that I compiled in a huge mind map, and I planned to do all of them during summer. And I envisioned this version of me sitting down from morning to evening and enjoying myself doing work, even though my main focus for summer was actually going to be sports, which I totally forgot, but I decided to just focus on work on my computer, which my eyes are actually now not grateful for at all. And the second mistake I did is I was trying to tackle and start all those projects and things at once, which made me burn out in the shortest amount of time imaginable. I mean, summer, like the past 3 weeks, flew by just by me struggling to figure out what I really want to do, and it was just such a mess. I do not recommend doing that at all. And also, I haven't figured out whether I should separate school and personal projects, and I really went hard on the personal projects, and my mind automatically forgot about school duties and about physical activity. And I was just thinking that I'm going to be superhuman and do all the things that I came up with. And my fourth mistake was that a lot of unexpected events would constantly appear in my calendar. For instance, some doctor visits, and which I didn't really plan for, and I assumed that they didn't take any time, but they actually, with the traffic in the city, each one of them took about 4 hours, and it definitely could not be negligible because it is quite a big chunk of time. And some of the things which were in my calendar, I actually forgot about. For instance, a digital EYP session, European Youth Parliament. So it was called Digital Health Forum, and I was extremely interested in the topics. But I actually forgot about the session itself, and I didn't prepare for it, and it hit me quite hard. And I also had terrible internet connection, so I literally had to move house just to get internet, and all the stress was definitely not planned. And the session itself lasts from morning to around 6 p.m., which is longer than a school day, so definitely very tiring sitting in front of a screen all the time. As well as all of that, I tried to form around 8 daily habits at the same time, and they were ranging from like reading every day for 20 minutes to like program for 1 hour, which is kind of a strange concept, like habit which takes 1 hour each day and a lot of effort. I clearly misunderstood the concept of a habit. And as well as that, Instagram and YouTube have never been so attractive in my eyes. I have literally been stuck in them, and I literally could not stop scrolling my feed, and which definitely made my life much more miserable and difficult to maintain. Now that I have listed around a dozen reasons why the month of June was so torturous for me, and I actually made it torturous for myself, let me share some knowledge that I have accumulated over this period of time. And all these things I'm gonna break down into 3 main points, and they're gonna be helpful for anyone who is not very clear about their goals or just has a lot of things on their minds and you're not sure how to tackle them. So the first thing I would suggest is actually consists of another few things. So the first thing you have to do is to basically do a brain dump. Sounds weird, I know, but the whole concept is that you take a piece of paper or open a digital notebook and write down all the things that you remember that you want or have to do. And you might also look through similar notes on the same topic and like scroll through your notes on your laptop or find some weird, maybe you've been leaving sticky notes of stuff you want to do. So you gotta collect all of that. And you could be as detail-oriented and ambitious as you want. And also, if other ideas come to your mind in the following hours after you've done this, or even days, just add them to the same list. And this technique helps you get rid of all the clutter in your mind and combats anxiety. So you really have all the things, you basically have your whole mind in front of you, and it really does help with achieving mental clarity. The next step for you would be to create categories of things that are just one-time miscellaneous things. For instance, you have to buy something or make a short call that's going to take just a few minutes. These are things that you have been putting off, but they do not take so much time, so that's one category. The next one is habits that you want to implement. I think this is quite self-explanatory. And the next one, I'm going to give you my example. So I divided it into schoolwork and personal projects as two separate categories. So you have 4 in total, miscellaneous, then habits, next schoolwork and personal projects. And what you want to do next is, as you reread your brain dump list, feel free to cut out the things that you already think that are obviously boring or a waste of time, and you just, from the first look at them, you don't want to do it. And the last and final step, you should categorize all your brain dump list points into the aforementioned 4 categories. And now the most important part of it is you gotta use the WOOP technique. So I know, sounds weird again, but it is a technique which German psychologist Gabriel Oettingen came up with, and it's actually an acronym, and it stands for Wish, Outcome, Obstacle, and Plan. And what you're gonna do with every single point that you wrote down is that you have to, so let's imagine you have 1 point, for instance, you want to start a podcast. So your wish is to start a podcast and, gain 1,000 monthly listeners. So that is your wish, and the outcome of it is going to be that you're gonna gain popularity, and you're gonna promote your Instagram account, for example, or Facebook page or anything like that. And you kind of dream about all of this and how good it's gonna feel. And the next point is obstacles. So you imagine all the obstacles which you may encounter on your way. So the amount of time you're gonna have to dedicate to all of this, the software you're gonna have to learn how to use, like audio editing, and you have to host your podcast somewhere, and all of this maintenance stuff that you've never encountered before, and just really feel the obstacles that are going to be on your way. And after you've done these 3 points, if you're still passionate about doing this, or you just still do want to pursue this passion of yours, you come to the planning stage, and here you take your big wish and break it down into tangible points. One way to do that is to take your specific case and Google how other people have been dealing with this issue or thing they want to do. And you can basically just come out, for instance, if we take the same example, launching a podcast, you can break it down into marketing and what you're going to do for that. So, for instance, for each platform, there's going to be a different strategy, like Instagram, Facebook, yada, yada, yada. And also, you can take, you have to set up a hosting account. Maybe you want to create a website to promote your podcast. And all these subcategories also have smaller things that have to be done. And this is going to be your detailed plan, and try and make it as detailed as possible so that you faced the least possible amount of resistance when you actually get down to doing it. And the second big point that I have is that when you look at your habits list once again, it is very true that, as many people say, that habits do create freedom, but try not to exhaust yourself to the point where you find yourself living days that look exactly like one another, and you just keep filling them with habits and thinking that it is doing better, but it's actually ruining you sometimes. And I know that this might sound very ironic in the times of quarantine, because yes, every other day most likely looks the same as the previous one. But this is an ultimate truth in my eyes, and I think it is applicable to all people and all times. And really, just do not cut up in the circular motion of yours from habit to habit. That is really not the way to live life. And I believe that spontaneous actions are much more valuable than they're not much more valuable, but they're definitely equally as valuable as all the habits that you implement in your life. And the third big point that I have is that you have to enjoy your time off. For instance, if you wake up feeling like it's not the day to work and you just don't feel like doing anything, then just don't. It's not gonna make things better if you're trying to force yourself. And if you just keep suffering through your day like that, you will neither work nor relax. Just come to terms with the fact that you're tired and accept it and just take some time off. It's not that difficult. You just gotta practice a bit. To conclude our discussion, we have talked about the possible things you may be going through, and I give my examples and a couple others, as well as have outlined the 3 steps to create more mental space and to clarify what you want to complete and how much rest is actually needed. A more detailed version of this episode will soon be available on my website. That is also coming soon, so definitely stay tuned for that. I really hope you enjoyed this half story time, half self-help episode, and check out the description to read more about all the references I made during this episode. They're always below the track. And once again, thank you for listening, and see you in the next one.